You're watching Long Beach Local News. Breaking news, community, politics, sports, entertainment in Long Beach, California.
Hello and welcome to Top Trends in Long Beach with myself, Yasmin Tanras, on Wednesdays. With Top Trends in Long Beach, we highlight topics that are trending on a national and local level, featuring special guests from Long Beach as part of an in-studio debate or conversation. Today, we will be taking a closer look into the housing and homeless situation in Long Beach, as this is an ongoing and top issue that the city wishes to tackle. On June 4th of 2019, the city of Long Beach sent out a press release revealing a 2% increase in homelessness from 2017 to 2019. Mayor Robert Garcia said earlier this year in his State of the City address that housing and homelessness are the top issues facing the city, and called the City Council to bring forth an ordinance by this summer that would require developers to pitch in for affordable housing. He also announced the city has reached an agreement to purchase a year-round homeless shelter. To give us a little bit more context here today, we have joining us in studio Robert Garcia's Senior Advisor, Daniel Brezenoff, who focuses as well. You're the Deputy of Housing and Homelessness here in Long Beach. So thank you very much for joining us here today. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm glad for the opportunity to talk to you.
Yes. Well, a lot of people have been questioning. So first of all, give us a little bit of your background and how you managed to obtain the position as you are in right now, and why as well.
I've been working in mental health and community mental health in Long Beach about as long as I've lived here, about 17 years. And so, when you work in community mental health at the street level, you see a lot of people struggling with homelessness, with housing insecurity. It's something that almost everyone you encounter has experienced at some point in their journey. And I've also worked for Mr. Garcia when he was our council member. I started working for him as his legislative director, and I was his deputy chief of staff during his first 2 years of his mayoral term. So, he asked me to come back to work on this issue. I think having worked at the street level and then on the policy level as well, I just bring in a useful perspective.
Yeah, so it seems like you're the right man for the position. Let's go back to Garcia's State of the City address, in which he talks about an ordinance that needs to be implemented by the summer. Give us a little bit more clarity as to what that looks like.
In his State of the City address, he referred to inclusionary zoning. So this would mean that when housing is built in the city, some percent of those units would need to be affordable. And this is a really important way to address the crisis that's not just here in Long Beach, but statewide with housing supply. And so what that exactly is going to look like, we don't know yet. The city staff are in the process right now of doing a community outreach process. They've been talking to residents. They're going to be talking to housing developers, and by the end of the summer should come back to council with some recommendations and some different possibilities that the council will then consider, and we'll have that conversation.
Okay, so in the summer they're going to have the conversation. Right now, to that lead up, it's been gathering the information that is needed, and then
Correct.
To be able to implement that. Okay, and then there was the year-round homeless shelter that the city agreed to purchase. What is that about as well?
Well, with about $12 million of HEAP funding, homeless emergency assistance funding from the state, and some other small sources of funding, the city's been able to, for the first time, purchase land for a municipal shelter. We have some shelters in Long Beach that are not run by the city, and so this will enable us to really to do it the way that we want to do it, and that's a low barrier and that gets people off the street and into housing really quickly. It's going to take a little time before we can open that up, and that's up in North Long Beach, but 126 beds is at last count what we're thinking. And that's not just a shelter, but it's a bridge housing program. So it's really a full service kind of campus where people will be able to get what they need to be able to move from the streets into permanent housing, address their mental health, substance abuse issues, connect them with job training, potentially educational opportunities, that sort of thing.
And that's something that they're working on right now?
The land has been purchased. What that's going to look like exactly yet, we're still figuring out those details.
Okay, and so what else is the city doing to tackle the situation?
Yeah, the multi-service center is kind of the hub of homeless services. Serves about 13,000 people every year, just to give you the idea of the scope of this issue that we're addressing. Long Beach is very fortunate. We have our own continuum of care, our own health department. Most cities in California don't have that. It makes us eligible for a great deal of funding that other cities would not be able to get. And so because of that, we've got to a position where we're really recognized statewide and nationally for some of the things that we're doing. We have our quality of life teams, for example, on the Long Beach Police Department, or officers that are specially trained to deal with the issues around homelessness and to assist people who are experiencing homelessness. Our fire department has the HEART team that is similarly trained to go out there and assist people experiencing homelessness. And in fact, we're now in the process of training all of our fire department in mental health first aid, because of course there's a great deal of overlap with mental illness challenges and street homelessness. We have greatly expanded outreach teams recently. And I think what I really want your viewers to know about is that all of this is part of the Everyone Home Task Force recommendations. The mayor convened the Everyone Home Task Force last year, and they spent several months working on a set of very robust recommendations for the city to follow here over the coming years. That task force is made up of leaders in the community who are working on this issue, and you can read all these recommendations, and we're checking them off the list. Just this year alone, for example, we've broken ground on 255 units of affordable housing, which represents almost half the units that have been broken ground citywide on housing. So that's a nice amount of affordable housing, but it's not nearly enough. We've got to do a lot more, particularly on the prevention side.
Right. So talking about housing people as well, back in April, the city had announced of taking on or ensuring that homeless people can go into motels. They're no longer being utilized. How's the status on that?
Some of the motels along the Pacific Coast Highway, Anaheim Street, downtown, have been used for a long time, sort of informally, as transitional housing, where some of the local agencies will pay for people to spend a night or a week when there's not other shelter available. But it doesn't work as well as it could, because the motels are operated by motel operators. They're not social service professionals or mental health professionals. So the idea is that if you could get those hotels in the hands of an operator that is an expert in this area, that would be better. And to convert those motels into real transitional housing. The problem is that it's very expensive. And so one of the things that happens is when you want to build affordable housing, CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, places a lot of regulations on that. And so our state senator, Tom Umberg, has carrying a bill that the city of Long Beach has sponsored to make that easier, to basically waive those requirements when you're going to build transitional housing from a motel, when you're going to convert it into transitional housing. And that would make it much more feasible, and it would open up a lot more of these units to help people get off the street. Okay. Yeah.
So then why have we seen over the past, it seems like the city is really pushing on different development by purchasing the land and now the motels, and why over the past couple of years has there been this 2% increase in homelessness?
The 2% increase represents about 31 people. It's within the margin of error. We don't want to see an increase, but the Department of Housing and Urban Development basically considers that flat. And if you look around at what's going on in some other jurisdictions, and they're seeing these huge increases, we think we've been able to keep that number low and within the margin of error because of the extensive services that we have, because of the coordination that we do between the different agencies in the city. But we know we're in a housing crisis, and it is a statewide housing crisis. We are not building enough housing in California, and that's true in Long Beach too. One of the things that we used to do is we used redevelopment money to build affordable housing. Redevelopment was taken away in the wake of the recession of 2008, and so that revenue really hasn't been replaced, and that's an important factor in building affordable housing, is finding a way to fund it. And so, we're still building it. We need to build more, but the rent pressure is real, and we think that has a lot to do with why you see that number. If you look at the point in time count, you'll see that we reduced chronic homelessness about 8%. And in fact, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've housed about 5,000 people in Long Beach from street homelessness into permanent housing. And that's a great number, 5,000 people. It works out to about 3 a day. on average. But on the other hand, we now are seeing more than half the people in Long Beach are newly homeless. And so again, what that means is this rent pressure, this housing scarcity is a big reason we're seeing that. And it says we've got to do more on the prevention side.
So those some of the factors that you're talking about that give reasons to why there's such a rent increase as well, or what other factors are there as to why rent prices are increasing continuously?
Yeah, I do think that is mainly about a shortage of supply and a high demand. People want to live in California. It's a great place to live. We have the weather. We have a cultural climate that's great here, and many reasons to want to live in California. But we are not building the housing, and I think everyone's clear that that's the main reason for the rent increases.
And so, of course, a lot of people have been questioning about affordable housing. How can people qualify for affordable housing? Where can they also find information for it?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. If they want to get on the city's website, longbeach.gov/HACLB, that stands for Housing Authority, City of Long Beach. I know we're hearing a little helicopter right now in the background. But that's longbeach.gov/HACLB, Housing Authority, City of Long Beach. And there's a great deal of information about how to get, how to apply for affordable housing, the resources that are out there for people.
Mm-hmm. And for some of those who are on the waiting list, why can the process take so long once they are qualified for affordable housing?
Yeah, I think it's what we've been talking about. It's really a shortage of supply. It's that there are so many people who have this need, and that there just isn't enough affordable housing. And again, it's just one more reason we've got to build more housing.
Okay. And is there anything that you would finally like to share with the people here of Long Beach? Some of the work that you do as well.
Sure. I think it's a very complicated issue, and so I know people have a lot of questions. I've been going out and talking to neighborhood groups, neighborhood associations, and so if any of your viewers are part of a neighborhood association, want me to come out and speak with them, I'm very happy to do that.
Okay, well, you've heard from Daniel Brezenoff. If you would like to have him as part of the neighborhood association and groups that you'd like to come by, how can they get in touch? Is that via...
Just to reach me in the mayor's office, it's 570-6801 or mayor@longbeach.gov.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today and shedding some light on the situation.
Thank you.
Well, that is it for today on Top Trends in Long Beach. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If there's a hot topic in Long Beach you'd like us to discuss with the panel, please get in touch by email lblnteam@gmail.com or #TTLBYT for any posts, and do check out our website to stay up to date with your local news on longbeachlocalnews.com. Also follow us on social media at Long Beach Local News, and don't forget to hit those notification buttons to know when we go live and for any other news updates. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Yasmin Tanres, and we will see you at 6 p.m. with Eric Richards, where we will do our weekly news update. Thank you very much.